How can a single American soldier paralyze the Nazi army for 3 straight days? Do you have the courage to witness this declassified epic written in the shadows of Normandy? Prepare to see how American military genius achieves the impossible. June 1944. Never in the history of the world had an invasion been so bold, so daring, and so bloody. As the Allies stormed the beaches of Normandy, every single American soldier was a beacon of hope, a hero carrying the torch of liberty to a darkened Europe. But amidst this chaotic hellscape, one man's story stands apart, a story that embodies one of the deepest secrets of American military doctrine, the philosophy of individual supremacy. This is the chronicle of the Normandy sniper, a man who survived alone behind enemy lines for 72 hours, outmaneuvering Nazi brutality and forcing the world to rewrite the rules of military strategy.
Listen to me closely, friends, because the tale of heroism I'm about to share today reveals exactly why the American soldier is the most feared force on this planet. Official reports give you the broad strokes of D-Day, the big picture. But here in the Pentagon archives, we declassify the personal wars fought in the trenches. This specific sniper didn't just target enemy soldiers. He systematically dismantled the morale, the discipline, and the operational capacity of the Nazi machine. His 3-day struggle is living proof that American military genius doesn't just reside in our technology. It's forged in individual courage and superior strategic intellect. Remember, liberty is never won by chance. It is seized by heroes who bleed and think on the front lines.
The first dawn of D-Day stained Omaha Beach, a deep crimson red. Death rained down from every bunker and every trench. Among those who clawed their way out of that inferno was a marksman from the 2nd Infantry Division, known in the records simply as the Corporal. Due to the extreme sensitivity and lingering mystery of his mission, his full identity remains partially classified in our official files. Found isolated in a crumbling Normandy village, separated from his main unit, he was low on ammunition, but his resolve was unbreakable.
His situation was a nightmare shared by thousands that day, isolation. But this corporal turned loneliness from a liability into a lethal advantage. He saw an opportunity to penetrate deep into German lines, sever their communication threads, and eliminate high-value targets. American sniper training at the time was light years ahead. It taught us how to read the enemy's mind, how to use the terrain like a predator, and how to turn every single shot into a death sentence. This corporal didn't just carry a rifle, he carried the American spirit, the discipline, and the unquenchable fire of freedom.
On that first night, from the attic of a ruined church, the corporal identified his strategic marks. German patrols, communication officers, and even an MG-42 crew were sent into eternity before they even knew they were being watched. Every shot was more than a kill. It was a wave of terror rippling through the Nazi ranks. The enemy began to realize they were being hunted by a ghost.
This wasn't just marksmanship. It was psychological warfare at its finest, demoralizing the enemy, making them believe an American phantom was lurking behind every bush. That is a core tenet of American doctrine. That corporal didn't just fire bullets. He shattered the enemy's will to fight.
Friends, this hero's epic is just beginning. The War Room Archives brings you the true stories of combat. What is the most incredible act of heroism you've heard of from World War II? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's honor these legends together. And if you don't want to miss these authentic American stories, subscribe now and turn on notifications. The legend continues. As the second day dawned, the danger for the corporal reached a breaking point. The Germans, reeling from the mysterious losses of the night before, were now on high alert. They flooded the area with reinforcements and veteran counter-sniper squads. The enemy was determined to find this phantom, but they had no idea how American military training transforms a man, allowing him to blend seamlessly into a forest, a building, or a pile of rubble.
This corporal was more than just a world-class shooter. He was a master of survival. U.S. Army sniper training in that era didn't just teach you how to aim, it taught you how to predict the enemy's next move, how to leave zero tracks, and how to weaponize the smallest detail of your environment. For 3 days, he wasn't just a soldier behind lines, he was an apex predator in the shadows. His ability to remain invisible laid the very foundation for the modern special forces operations we see today.
In the harsh light of day, the corporal had to be even more meticulous. He evaded German patrols, spotted hidden ambushes before they could spring, and even managed to bypass a tank patrol with a brilliant tactical maneuver. With his rations dwindling and his water nearly gone, he calculated every step, continuing to infiltrate the enemy's most secure zones. His ultimate goal? To paralyze a vital German supply line or a command center.
Heroes like this don't just win personal victories. They can alter the trajectory of an entire theater of war. The corporal's presence behind the lines drove the German commanders to the brink of insanity. They were forced to divert precious resources just to hunt him down, which weakened their grip on the main front. This is a perfect example of how American brilliance wins wars, not just with firepower but with psychology and superior strategy. As one man, he became a greater threat than an entire battalion.
By the end of the second day, the corporal stumbled upon an unexpected opportunity. A small chateau that the Germans had converted into a local command hub. Inside, Nazi officers were comfortably directing operations and discussing their defensive plans. This was both a massive risk and a destiny-defining opportunity. He chose his final rounds with extreme care and positioned himself for the most important mission of his life.
This is the moment every sniper prepares for, that critical intersection of fate and skill. All your training, all your sacrifice, boils down to a single heartbeat. This corporal was a strategist, a survivalist, and above all, a true American hero. What he was about to do in that chateau would not just disrupt local operations, it would impact the fate of the entire front. But how did he pull it off? And what happened to him when the 3 days were up? We will uncover those answers in the next episode.
The first light of the third day in Normandy began with a deathly silence for the corporal. The German officers surrounding the chateau still felt safe, or at least, that's what they believed. In the corporal's hands was the pride of American engineering, the M1C Garand sniper rifle. This weapon was more than just a rifle. It was the unerring pen of liberty. The corporal was hidden like a ghost within the hollow of a tree and thick brush. He controlled his breathing, synchronizing his heartbeat with the very rhythm of nature. His target? A high-ranking commander coordinating the German forces in the region.
From a military perspective, the American sniping doctrine of that era was built on one shot, one decision. The M1C Garand he used was equipped with an M81 telescopic sight, capable of neutralizing a target from 600 yards with 30.06 Springfield rounds. The corporal didn't just pull the trigger. He calculated wind speed, humidity, and bullet drop with the precision of an American engineer. Ballistics reports in the Pentagon archives show that this shot was nearly impossible. But for us Americans, impossible is just a starting point.
The trigger was pulled. Before the scent of gunpowder could even drift into the air, the bullet had found its mark. Panic erupted within the German command. Chaos was the corporal's favorite ally. With the commander down, the chain of command was paralyzed. German soldiers fired in every direction, searching for the phantom hunter. But the corporal was following the most important rule of American training: fire and maneuver. He was drawing the enemy's fury toward himself, pulling them away from the actual front line.
I must make a professional observation here. The counter-sniping techniques the corporal employed are still taught as lessons at Fort Moore today. Using decoy positions and distractions, he systematically neutralized the elite sniper squads the Germans had deployed to the area. The Germans had the numbers, but the corporal was stopping an army single-handedly through strategic intelligence. This is the absolute victory of American intellect over brute force.
The afternoon of the third day turned into a living hell. The Germans had completely encircled the area. The corporal was reaching the end of his ammunition, but surrender was never an option. Every single round he fired meant the end of a Nazi officer or a heavy weapons operator. Though thirst and exhaustion strained his mind, he thought of his home across the ocean and the freedom of the Europe he had come to save. An American soldier's endurance is not just a physical force, it is a spiritual power.
According to authentic military records, the corporal silenced 2 different machine gun nests attempting to pin down his position using only 3 rounds. Against the German Kar 98K rifles, our semi-automatic firepower and tactical superiority were the decisive factors. As a colonel, I can tell you this. A soldier's most powerful weapon is the technology and training provided by the state behind him. Armed with the best equipment American industry could produce, the corporal held a Nazi army at bay. This is the transformation of logistical genius into heroism on the field.
As evening fell, the Germans launched a final assault with grenades and heavy fire support. The corporal waited to use his last grenade and his final few bullets with maximum efficiency. As the circle tightened around him, a sound echoed from the distance. The thunderous roar of American artillery. The Allied forces were approaching. The corporal's 3-day solitary war had cleared the path for an entire division.
The corporal's survival was no miracle. It was the professionalism of a disciplined American soldier. The devastation he caused behind enemy lines for 3 days led to the collapse of the German defensive line in that sector. Our intelligence reports clearly state that the targets he neutralized disrupted the German retreat routes. What happened in that chateau and the surrounding fields that day declared to the whole world how the power of an individual can win a war. But as the moment of liberation arrived, there was one last surprise waiting for the corporal.
On that unending third night of June 1941, the skies of Normandy were set ablaze by the light of Allied artillery and naval bombardment. For the corporal, there was nowhere left to hide. The Germans were raking every tree and every stone pile with relentless, suppressive fire. With only one magazine left and a single unexploded grenade, he slithered through the hedgerows like a serpent, reaching a trench parallel to the main road. As smoke billowed from the chateau he had left behind, he could see with his own eyes how German morale had utterly collapsed. Having lost their officers, the Nazi soldiers were fighting ghosts in the dark. The corporal was living the purest form of American military doctrine: sabotage the enemy from within, create panic, and hold the line until the heavy hitters arrive.
I need to pause here and emphasize a professional truth. The mobile defense tactic the corporal displayed that night is the foundation of modern commando training today. The Germans believed he was at least a squad of soldiers because he was constantly changing positions and firing from different angles. Our ballistic records confirm that despite the small amount of ammunition used that night, the impact created was massive. It's not about the quantity of the bullets. It's about the quality of the American mind pulling that trigger.
As dawn broke, the artillery fire shifted to just in front of the corporal's position. The earth trembled, and the sky seemed to tear apart. American 105mm howitzers had blocked the road to German reinforcements. When the corporal heard the famous roar of the American Sherman tank engines emerging from the dust and smoke, he smiled for the first time in 3 days. The white stars on those tanks were not just markings on metal. They were the seal of liberty bringing an end to an empire. The corporal pulled a dirty handkerchief from his pocket, tied it to the end of a branch, and began to wave. His solitude was over. The fist of the American giant was about to strike deep into Normandy. When the tank platoon halted, the infantry dove into the trenches. The sight they encountered was unbelievable. Standing before them was a single American soldier, his clothes torn, his face blackened with gunpowder soot, but his gaze still as sharp as an eagle's. When they took the corporal to the interrogation area, the sheer scale of the 3-day destruction he left behind was revealed. More than 20 neutralized strategic targets, a paralyzed communication network, and a completely demoralized German garrison. Intelligence officers were trying to understand how this one man had achieved what an entire battalion could not. But the answer was simple. He was an American who knew the meaning of freedom and was ready to sacrifice everything for it.
According to intelligence reports, the corporal's operation delayed German defensive plans in the sector by at least 48 hours. This was vital time for the Allies to land their heavy equipment. While official records might list this operation as strategic reconnaissance and harassment, we know its real name: pure American courage. The concealment techniques he used later became standard in our sniper schools. We stand as today's global superpower on the shoulders of these nameless heroes.
The corporal was immediately offered a Distinguished Service Cross on the field that day. However, He simply said he wanted to clean his rifle and rejoin his unit for the next order. For him, these 3 days were not a show of heroism, but a job. This is where American military genius lies, accepting even the greatest achievements with silent discipline. The corporal's story began to spread like a legend through the muddy roads of Normandy. In the stories shared among soldiers, he was no longer just a sniper. He was the American ghost at the neck of the Nazi army.
So how did this legend actually end? Why didn't this corporal's name appear on the front page of history books when the war ended? Sometimes the state prefers to keep its greatest heroes as secrets for future operations, but we have unlocked that secret for you today. In the finale, we will see the post-war fate of this great hero and the legacy he left behind.
As the smoke of war cleared from the skies of Normandy, the corporal's 3-day struggle remained as more than just a tactical success. It became a legendary precedent that rewrote the rules of modern warfare. The narrow streets and dense forests of Normandy stood as living proof of how a single American soldier, armed with superior training and an unshakable will, could halt an entire army. The corporal joined the march of victory deep into Europe, proudly carrying the American banner on the very front lines until the war's end. Today, his story is taught in our elite military training centers, like Fort Moore, as a masterclass in how to become a titan under extreme pressure. Today, as you walk along the shores of Normandy, a sense of peace still reigns among those old chateaus and woodlands. Yet, history buffs and patriots know that the price of that peace was paid by these nameless heroes. After the war ended, the corporal quietly returned to his hometown. He set his medals aside and became one of the millions of patriots who continued to build his country. He fought not for applause, but for duty. And it is exactly this humble power that is the true energy making America the greatest nation in the world.
We have reached the end of another mystery here at the War Room Archives. Now it's your turn. Do you believe the real power that changes the fate of a war lies in massive armies, or in individual heroes like this corporal who single-handedly alter history? Share your thoughts and any tales of heroism from your own family history with us in the comments. Stay loyal to our channel for more declassified files of American military genius. Remember, liberty is not just a right, it is a legacy that must be protected every single day. I am Colonel Diana Miller, and I'll see you in the next covert operation. Stay alert, stay patriotic, farewell.